When you suddenly find yourself alone in your older years, what should you do first? It's one of life's hardest transitions, learning to live alone after decades of companionship. Maybe it's the passing of a beloved spouse, children moving far away, or simply the quiet drift of time. Whatever the cause, loneliness after 60 or 70 is not just common, it's deeply human. But here's something most people won't tell you. Being alone doesn't have to mean being lost. In today's video, we'll walk through 6 wise, meaningful steps you can take if you find yourself growing older and facing life alone. These aren't vague suggestions or empty comfort. They're real, practical actions that many older adults have used, not just to survive solitude, but to find a new kind of peace and purpose in it. Stay with us until the very end, because the 6th step, rarely talked about, might just be the turning point you need. It's the one shift that could help you move from isolation to quiet inner strength. Let's get started. Step 1. Physical anchoring through routine. One of the first things wise older adults do when living alone is create a small, consistent physical routine to ground their day. Not for fitness, not for show, but to feel anchored. When you're by yourself, time can blur. Days lose their structure. It's easy to drift without even realizing it. A simple repeated movement, like stretching each morning, watering your plants at the same hour, or walking the same peaceful path, creates rhythm, and rhythm creates a sense of control. There's actually a psychological term for this: somatic grounding. It means using the body to steady the mind. Every time you touch the same wooden chair, feel the floor under your feet, or lift your arms with a slow breath, you're silently telling your nervous system, you're here, you're safe, you're still moving. That small physical act becomes a way to reestablish certainty, even when everything else feels like it's changed. Take Walter, 81 years old, who lost his wife after 52 years. He began each morning with a slow walk to the mailbox, even when there was no mail. He said, "It wasn't about the walk. It was about proving to myself that I was still in the world." That one small action helped him rebuild his life day by day. And that's what a physical routine can become: a quiet, steady brick under your feet, reminding you that even if the house feels emptier now, your foundation is still strong. Step 2. Community through small purpose. When you're older and living alone, it's easy to feel like the world doesn't need you anymore. But the truth is, it does. And wise older adults know the fastest way to feel alive again is to become useful, even in tiny ways. You don't need grand gestures or heavy commitments. You don't need to volunteer 5 days a week. Sometimes, the smallest acts create the biggest connections. Maybe it's filling an extra bird feeder for your neighbor's porch, baking a pie for someone recovering from surgery, checking in on a younger neighbor going through a rough patch. Tiny offerings reconnect you. They remind you that your presence still matters in the daily rhythm of someone else's life. Psychologists call this generative purpose, and it's been linked to lower rates of depression, better sleep, and even longer lifespans in older adults. Not because of what you do, but because of what it symbolizes. You're still part of the circle. Look at Ruth, 77 years old, who lives alone in a quiet neighborhood. She doesn't drive anymore, but every Thursday she calls 3 neighbors, not to give advice, just to listen. They call it their Thursday check-in. It's become a small ritual they all look forward to. It gives her a role, it gives them reassurance, and it keeps her feeling deeply connected in a world that often moves too fast to notice the quiet ones. If you're still watching and finding these insights valuable, please type number 2 in the comments below. It lets me know you're here. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any of our videos. Your support helps us continue creating content that informs and inspires. Now, let's keep going. Step 3. Building light structure into your day. One of the biggest traps of living alone in later years is slipping into a life without rhythm. Days begin to blur. Time stretches out without shape. And before you know it, you're not really choosing your days. You're drifting through them. Wise elders know that even a light routine can be a lifeline. It doesn't have to be rigid or overwhelming. A simple habit can create more momentum than you might realize. Maybe it's walking to the mailbox at the same time each morning, enjoying your coffee while listening to your favorite radio station, or setting a regular weekly time to call someone you care about. These small habits act like anchors. They give your day a recognizable shape, a rhythm, and a reason to keep moving. When you live with others, the structure of your day often naturally forms around them. When you're alone, that rhythm has to come from within. Without it, even small decisions, like when to eat or what to do next, can start to feel heavier than they should. And that heaviness can eventually turn into mental and emotional fatigue. That's why the wisest seniors choose to make small parts of their day predictable. Predictability brings stability. And in a world that feels more chaotic by the day, stability brings peace. It doesn't mean your life becomes boring. It means your mind doesn't have to keep scrambling for direction. That energy can be saved for the moments that truly matter. Take Bill, 81 years old. Every morning, he starts his day with toast, peanut butter, and one chapter from an old Western novel. Then, 10 minutes of light stretching. Not because he has to, but because he wants to feel ready for whatever the day may bring. His routine isn't fancy, but it gives him momentum. And when you're living alone, momentum is everything. Step 4. Finding a place to be seen. There's a special kind of ache that can come from living alone. It's not just the absence of company, it's the feeling of being unseen. That quiet sense that your presence no longer matters the way it once did. But here's the truth. Your presence still matters. It just needs a place to land. Wise older adults understand this. They find or create small spaces where they can be noticed, acknowledged, and appreciated. Not necessarily in big, loud ways, but in quiet, consistent ones. Maybe it's a weekly trip to a community center, a familiar seat at a favorite cafe, or joining a hobby group where people notice if you don't show up. It's not about seeking attention. It's about affirming existence, reminding yourself and others that you're still here. It's one of life's hardest transitions, living alone after decades of companionship. Whether it's the passing of a spouse, children moving far away, or simply the quiet drift of time, loneliness after 60 or 70 isn't just common. It's deeply human. But here's something most people won't tell you. Being alone doesn't have to mean being lost. In this video, we'll walk through 6 meaningful, wise steps to take if you find yourself growing older and facing life alone. These aren't vague suggestions or empty comforts. They're practical, grounding actions that many older adults have used to not just survive solitude, but find a new kind of peace and purpose in it. Stay with us until the very end, because the 6th step is something few people talk about. Yet it might just be the turning point that helps you move from isolation to quiet inner strength. Let's begin. 1. Physical anchoring routine. 1. Of the first things wise older people do when living alone is create a small, consistent physical routine, not for fitness or show, but to feel anchored. When you're alone, time can blur. Days lose their structure, and it's easy to drift without even realizing it. A simple repeated movement, stretching in the morning, watering plants at the same hour, or walking the same quiet path, creates rhythm. And rhythm creates a sense of control. There's even a psychological term for it: somatic grounding, using the body to steady the mind. When you touch the same wooden chair, feel the floor under your feet, or raise your arms with a slow breath each morning, you're telling your nervous system, you're here, you're safe, you're still moving. Take Walter, 81, who lost his wife after 52 years. Every morning, he took a slow walk to the mailbox, even on days when there was no mail. It wasn't about the walk, he said. It was about proving to myself that I was still in the world. A physical routine isn't just exercise. It's a brick under your feet, reminding you that even if the house feels emptier now, the foundation is still strong. 2. Community through small purpose. When you're older and living alone, it's easy to feel like the world no longer needs you. But wise older adults know the fastest way to feel alive again is to become useful, even in small ways. You don't need to start a foundation or volunteer 5 days a week. Purpose can be simple: keeping an extra bird feeder for the neighbor's porch, baking a pie for someone recovering from surgery, calling a younger friend just to listen. These tiny offerings reconnect you. They affirm that your existence still matters in someone else's daily rhythm. Psychologists call this generative purpose, and it's linked to lower depression, better sleep, and even longer lifespans. Not because of the size of what you do, but because you stay part of the circle. Take Ruth, 77. She doesn't drive anymore, but every Thursday she calls 3 neighbors for a friendly chat. They call it their Thursday check-in, and it's something they all now look forward to. Small actions, big meaning. If you're finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any future videos. 3. Structure that anchors you. One of the biggest traps of living alone in older age is slipping into drift. Days blending together, decisions becoming heavier than they should. Wise older adults know even a light structure is a lifeline. It doesn't have to be rigid. It can be as simple as walking to the mailbox every morning, having coffee on the porch with the same radio station, setting a weekly time to call someone you care about. Structure gives your day a shape, a rhythm, a reason to keep moving. Bill, 81, starts every morning with toast, peanut butter, and 1 chapter of a Western novel. Then 10 minutes of stretching. He says it's not fancy, but it gives me momentum. And momentum, when you're living alone, is everything. Predictability brings stability. Stability brings peace. 4. A place to be seen. Living alone, it's dangerously easy to become invisible. Days can pass without anyone saying your name, and that silence can chip away at your sense of self. But when someone greets you by name, when someone says, "Good to see you again," it affirms something powerful. You still exist in the fabric of life. These micro moments of recognition aren't trivial, they're lifelines. Margaret, 79, sits on the same bench by the rose garden every Tuesday. Over time, joggers started waving. A boy on a bike stopped to ask her name. Now 5 or 6 people greet her each week. They're not close friends, but that's not the point. She's not invisible. She's part of the landscape, and that makes all the difference. If this resonates with you, please comment number 4 below. 5. A rhythm that carries you. Routine gives structure, but rhythm brings life. Rhythm isn't just doing tasks, it's moving forward, even when motivation is low. It can be simple. Watering plants each morning, a midday walk, writing in a journal before bed. What matters is the consistency, the steady heartbeat of a day with shape and intention. Walter, 82, keeps a handwritten calendar on his wall. Monday, soup day. Tuesday, crossword day. Wednesday, trim roses. Thursday, call his daughter. Friday, movie night with himself. Saturday, reread old letters. Sunday, rest. It may look like nothing to anyone else, he says, but to me, it's everything. When you're alone, rhythm becomes your quiet companion. It holds your hand through the silence. It says, let's go again. 6. A reason to step outside. Finally, one of the most powerful habits. Find just one reason, any reason, to step outside every day. Because the longer you stay indoors, the smaller your world becomes. And when the world shrinks, so does curiosity, joy, and connection. Wise older adults don't wait for perfect weather. They step out to buy one apple. They sit on the porch for 10 minutes. They walk to the corner just to say hello to the wind. Carol, 77, walks to a little coffee stand every morning, rain or shine. It's not about the coffee, she says. It's about moving towards something, reminding myself I'm still part of the world. Even 5 minutes outside can shift your spirit. It says, I'm still here, and the world is still here for me. If you found this last insight valuable, please comment number 6 below. Final thoughts. If you're older and living alone, the quiet can sometimes feel heavier than the years themselves. But remember, being alone does not mean being lost. You are still the author of your days, the keeper of your rhythm, your kindness, your breath, your hope. What stood out to you most today? Was it the idea of building small routines, reaching out before the silence swallows your morning? Or stepping outside, even for a few minutes, to feel the air on your skin? There's no perfect way to navigate aging alone. But there are deeply human ways that bring meaning, warmth, and light into the quiet, ways that turn solitude into strength. You're not just surviving these years, you're shaping them. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you plan to use it. Your thoughts are important to us. Reading your comments gives us great motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Thanks for watching. We look forward to seeing you in the next video.